you'll find that broker wholesalers are the ones who do not actually take ownership of the product or keep those products in a warehouse in stock. They basically just fulfill that function of bringing the manufacturer and the consumer or retailer in contact with each other. So in other words, if for instance there's many farmers that that produce a certain product, and they will then act as a broker or agent to negotiate between all those different manufacturers or producers and the retailers who want those products, and in return they basically earn a commission. So they only fulfill that particular function of facilitating the process, and not the actual physical collecting, packaging, and distributing of the product. Right. Any questions? Because that is basically the only section we didn't have time to complete in chapter 10 yesterday. Any questions about chapter 10 that you have maybe written down while we went through it yesterday? Deal specifically with your distribution channels, or also referred to as marketing channels, the different parties involved, the different structures, where there's direct channels between manufacturer, producer, and consumer, where there's retailers involved, where there are wholesalers involved. Those are the basic structures that we have addressed. Any questions about chapter 10? Anything that you can remember that you maybe want me to highlight again? If it's all good, I can just take a sip of my tea and then we'll start with chapter 11, if you don't mind. We all good? Mika, Dana?
Yeah, so you can carry on.
Okay, thank you very much. Right. As I indicated, chapter 11 deals with the marketing communication strategy. And I'm going to repeat myself, and I'm going to also again say that this is probably one of the most crucial components of the whole marketing process. We'll see that when you look at the start of the chapter and you look at specifically the role that marketing communication fulfills. Now, what you see on the screen is basically what a marketer, or the marketing function at a company, what they strive to achieve. You will sit down and you will have specific objectives that you want to achieve. It could be that you're looking at particular numbers of customers that you want to reach. Could be that it's a specific amount of money that you want to turn as revenue that you have in mind. Whatever your specific marketing objectives are, you are going to use the elements of the marketing mix to design a product, distribution, promotion, and a price strategy for you. That combined, those combined strategies is going to be your total marketing strategy. So it has to address it basically addresses the 4 P's of the marketing mix. You have to have a strategy for all of that, and your complete strategy would be targeted at the market that you have selected. You will have different marketing strategies for different products that you have. Businesses look at, and that's why the product components is involved. Your marketing strategy is not a generic strategy that works for all the products that your business offers. So that's the starting point. If we want to know if we're successful or not, in other words, have we reached our target market, which is a specific market segment? To be able to do that, we need to, at the start, set our objectives, strategize. In other words, what's our plan of action to achieve that? And this is where the green block the marketing communication mix comes in. How are we going to reach our customers? How are we going to talk to our potential customers, to our existing customers? Because marketing communication is not just addressed at, and is not just have an objective, the objective of getting new customers. It's also to inform our current customers, maybe of new products that we are launching, or maybe just a reminder that we're still okay, and that that our products are still available. Pretty much what Coca-Cola stole, what Coca-Cola does with the marketing strategy to reinforce the brand and to just remind customers of the wonderful experience they will have every time they open a can or a bottle of Coke. Okay, so basically, if we do not communicate with our customers, we can have the best product in the world. It could be available in all the shops, on all the shelves, but nobody would know that the product is available. And that's where our communication component comes in, and why it's so important for us, and why it's also in the marketing mix, the final strategy. Before you can have a promotion strategy, you must have a product, price, and distribution strategy. The fourth P in the marketing mix is promotion. It's the last of the four Ps, because no point in communicating with our customers if we do not have a product in place and we don't know where our products will be available and at what price they'll be available. Right. Let's jump right into it. Marketing communication, therefore, is a combination of the elements that we have just seen in the previous slide, and also that I've listed below there, that your management believes will meet the needs of the target market, and in the process satisfy our own objectives and goals. Businesses are in business to make money, unless you're in NGO. But for you to achieve that satisfaction of the customer's need while you are making a profit is what all businesses are attempting to do on a daily basis. The elements that we need to use, and that we'll see in this chapter how we can use in combination with each other, and later on in the chapter, when we get to the integrated marketing communication, basically where you decide on what is the best cocktail or combination of the elements: advertising, PR, publicity, personal selling, and sales promotions, that will work for your type of business. We have to look at each of these elements individually. First one being advertising. I'm just going to try and establish, I've got another screen open here on my laptop as well, as to exactly where I want us to. I don't want to leave us hanging somewhere between two concepts. I just want to make sure that I plan exactly where I want to stop, so we can take our break, or short break. That would be, let me just open this, if you don't mind. My apologies for this. Okay, chapter 10, we can go, we're almost there. Right. Yeah, I think let's do the individual ones. Okay, let's start with advertising first. I've got an idea of where we can take a appropriate break. Advertising, people, is a way of communicating to your customers, but it's going to cost you. Advertising is not the cheapest form of communicating. Advertising can, in many cases, be a very effective way. And advertising is something that is especially popular and used by businesses when they have a new product that they are that customers are not aware of and that they want to bring to their attention. Advertising can be done in many ways. Advertising is done in a printed form. It could be a radio commercial. or it could be a television commercial. It could be a combination of all three, and it usually is. And later on in the chapter, we'll see exactly um, um, what combination is best for different types of businesses. It very much is going to be dependent on what businesses can afford. What you can afford is going to determine, to a large extent, what your combination of elements will, or which elements you will include in your marketing communications mix. Right, there are definitely certain specific objectives that we want to achieve with advertising. I think before we look at each of these individually, it is important for us to have a look at the different types of different types of advertising. Your advertising is either advertising a specific product, or it can be a corporate, or also what we call institutional advertising. Corporate advertising or institutional advertising specifically refers to advertisements that that advertise the entire company as a whole. I'll deal with some additional or share some additional examples with you on the next slide as well. You can, and businesses do, use advertising as a medium to try and build the image of a particular business. Sometimes they want to also link themselves to a particular cause of great value, like saving the rhinos, or supporting a specific environmental cause or campaign, and then they use the advocacy advertising, or that is seen as, or categorized as advocacy advertising. They want to tell the world that they're using it as a commercial, obviously, because people will see it and they will make the link and say, "Oh, right, I see Pick n Pay is involved with this campaign or supporting this particular campaign." It sort of enhances the image, the corporate image of the business. Often it is just to ensure that, because we know that because of social media, companies are very fragile and at the mercy of people using all the social media platforms, and very often before even thinking they go and they use social media as a platform to express their dissatisfaction with a particular company or brand, for instance. Now businesses know that obviously this might happen. How they handle it is often to be proactive, and usually any form of corporate image advertising is a proactive measure to ensure that even before customers think they have reason to doubt a particular company or brand, they share through commercials that link them very often to admirable causes to sort of enhance their image. Corporate advertising, institutional advertising, basically focusing on the company as a whole and not on a specific product. As on the contrary to that, we have product advertising. On the next slide, we'll look at different examples. There's also some video clips that you can watch of those particular companies that I've identified as examples. there are mainly three, but I've included five on the next slide. Your pioneer advertising, and we're dealing with product advertising now. The pioneering advertising is when businesses bring in new products, and they have a very intensive marketing campaign. The first time that cell phones was available in South Africa, the ads that we used were not were more informative and carried more information on what the product is about and what benefits you can get from the product. Same companies now, 10, 15, 20 years later, they basically use reminder advertising now because they're running new specials. They're just providing people information on a specific promotion that is running at the moment. Everybody knows what cell phones does, so the ads nowadays is constructed differently. The commercials and the advertisements, when a new product that nobody else has used before or knows about before, is more informative and carries more information about a particular product or service. Example I've used is the one of cell phones in general in South Africa. Then you have competitive advertising. Competitive advertising is when there's already existing industry. When Virgin Mobile entered the mobile market in South Africa, MTN and Cell C and Vodacom were there already. So for them to become competitive with those existing suppliers in the industry, they had to spend a lot on advertising to make people to make people aware of them being another option. So usually competitive advertising, if you are entering a new product into an existing market, so in other words, your product life cycle, usually here in the introduction stage of the product life cycle, you'll find that there's more money spent on advertising because you need to inform customers of the new options that's available. Virgin Mobile is the example I've used there. Watch those videos. Comparative advertising, not something that is permitted in South Africa. I know there is probably globally no better example of Coke and Pepsi and the feud that they've had, the battle of the brands, they call it in America, for many, many years, as long as I can remember. Very creative. One of the, I'm not sure which, I think the video clip that I've included is a sort of a compilation of different Coke versus Pepsi ads. But one that has always stuck with me and which basically is the best image that I can come up with when asked about comparative advertising is where this youngster, I suppose, I mean, he's about the height of half a fridge. So well, that probably makes him 12, 13 years old. He walks through this fridge and he opens the fridge, and it was very obvious when he reached out that he was looking for the Pepsi. But the Pepsi was right at the top shelf, right on the top shelf of the fridge. And he then took two Coke cans, which were on the bottom shelf of the fridge, and he stood on top of those to be able to reach the Pepsi. So that is an example of comparative advertising where both the two competitors are and their brands and logos are present in the commercial, but the one obviously is trying to outdo the other, so to speak. But in South Africa, unfortunately, comparative advertising is not permitted. Here we have reminder advertising. I've used the example previously, but another example that you'll find in the commercial is one that your parents will probably be familiar with. I don't drink milk or any creamer in my coffee. I drink it black. When I do drink coffee, I prefer tea. But some people, like my mother-in-law, doesn't use fresh milk in her coffee. She uses cremora, the creamer, to change the color basically, and it sort of makes it taste differently to apparently to normal fresh milk. But Cremora had an ad campaign out that was very um, popular around about, I would say, the early 80s. Yeah, around about the early mid 80s. It's an example of a reminder advertising where the company, similar to what I've used previously with the Coca-Cola, with Coca-Cola's advertising campaigns, to remind customers that their product is still, or their products are still available. And the reason why they do that is because from previous chapters, if you can remember correctly, we said that what you want to achieve as a marketer is to have pole position in the mind of the consumer, in his memory, stored from previous experiences and through repeated advertising. A particular image is stored related to a particular product. And the reminder advertising is just enhancing that image all the time and ensuring that you remain on the first page of the customer's memory. It's like advertising on the internet. If you want your products, if somebody does a Google search, page 1 is the page you want to be on. I can remember when my previous college started the online marketing campaign. It costs you money. It costs you a lot of money to be number one or the first choice that pops up when the Google page search that you have entered opens up. But if you want to be number one, it's going to cost you money, but it's also going to immensely improve your chances of being recognized, because when people do those searches, they seldom go beyond page 1, and they will most often end up with choice 1 or 2. It's just how the consumer, just how the consumer's mind works. These guys are number 1; they must be the best. That's why that page will be the first one that they open. It might not be, it might not lead to a sale, it might not lead to business, but they are going to start with you. And you want to be the first one that they start with, because everything else that follows, they are going to compare to what you have. If you are superior in a particular industry, then the comparison that follow, if they open the next option and the next option on page 1, is always going to be compared to the bar that you have set, or the standards that you have set in your. So going for number 1 and getting the number 1 position has value, but only if you are really the superior choice, and that's why you are in number 1. Institutional advertising, corporate advertising, as we've seen on the previous slide, is where the company as a whole, or a campaign as a whole, like the example I've used there, the South African blood transfusion services, very strong campaigns. Don't drink and drive, donate blood. All of these campaigns very evident around festive periods, and there the specific business, the fact that if you want to donate blood, contact the South African Blood Transfusion Services. They are advertising the company as a whole and not a particular product specifically. Anybody, any questions at this point? All good? All still alive? All well?
Yes,
It sounds like it. Thank you very much. Right. Another element of the marketing mix is public relations and publicity. Now, the old saying is that any publicity is good publicity is not true. It's been proven over time to not to be true, especially now with electronic, with social media. No, bad publicity is just that. It's bad publicity. You don't want it. Where was it? I was thinking this morning. Oh yes, while I was having a cup of tea, just after I woke up, I was watching Sky Sport, and I think Marcus Rashford. For those Man United supporters, my condolences. Epic game the other evening. I don't watch Man United games. I'm not a Man United supporter, but I do watch finals because I like good entertainment. Usually finals are very entertaining. But thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks for letting me know, Renandi. But he was Marcus Rashford is a Man United footballer, and he's obviously a player of color. And he received, I think, more than 70 racial attacks on social media after the game. And again, he just reacted to that this morning to say that he's obviously this is not condoned. And I know that they actually I saw them speak to the director of the Football Association in the UK, who specifically looks at incidents like this because the sort of abuse, the racial abuse that happens via social media is actually a huge problem. And I think one of the things that she said that is very important, they can do whatever they want, and they can but the service providers are the ones who also have to step up now and trace the origins of these senders and block them permanently, because they can do that. They have the ability to do that. So that's probably one of the things that happens, and we have to, unfortunately, these are the times that we live in. We need to be aware of this, and therefore good publicity is always better than bad publicity. But the difference between the two is that very often people confuse public relations with publicity. Publicity basically is public information about a business, the services that they offer, and the products that they sell, and that appears in the mass media. That is sort of general news. It's a newsworthy item. Okay, that's publicity. Public relations means that it's more sort of internal. It's a strategy that is followed, a marketing communication strategy or function that a company follows to evaluate public attitudes, to identify areas where the company may be interested in, and then also execute programs of action to ensure that they can earn the public understanding and acceptance for what they stand for as a business, and what products and services they offer. So it's basically all the functions, marketing, communication functions that has the intention of building good relationships with all the different stakeholders of the organization, not just the customers, but also government and your suppliers. It's a much bigger function than we think. It's an important function because if I can just an example that comes to mind for me is a number of years, most recently, probably 3-4 years ago, Ford, and especially the publicity they received on social media when the Ford Cougar started, and many Ford Cougars started bursting into flames, and people, the way in which Ford as a company reacted to this is a classic example of how it should not be done. They basically just continued advertising the usual commercials and advertisements that they will run on what products they offer. Almost as if they think, all right, if we just continue as normal, it will go away. It won't go away. The best way of addressing with this, people want reassurance, and the reaction that the reaction by owners of Ford vehicles, not necessarily Ford Cougars, other Ford products on social media was very negative, because they felt that Ford is avoiding the issue, and unfortunately, this is the times that we live in, and electronic communication is instant. You need to react instantaneously as well. You cannot wish it away. You have to, and this actually provides you with a perfect example of trying to reinsure your customers and potential customers through a proper public relations communication to ensure that the issue is addressed and that the reassurance is provided to the consumer that we are aware of the problem. It is a serious problem for us, and we are going to try our best to resolve the issue. And I think public relations is a very important function, or very important element of any marketing communications mix. Furthermore, personal selling. Personal selling, I think in later chapters, in the next chapter, I think in chapter 12, we're going to personal selling in more detail. But basically, personal selling is a situation which two people are involved in. There's a two-way communication between the people involved in personal selling. There's a seller and there's a buyer, always. Otherwise, it's not personal selling. And the one is trying to influence the other. The buyer wants the best deal. He wants a better price. He wants the best quality product. The seller, at the end of the day, just wants to make a sale. And the interesting part of this is that it focuses very much on your communication skills, and we'll have a look at that in the next couple of slides, when we deal with the elements of the communication process. Right. Personal selling is face-to-face. Personal selling can cost you a lot of money, because you have to train the individuals. You usually, especially when industrial products, products that need proper demonstration. Otherwise, if people use it incorrectly, they can hurt themselves, or they can damage the product, like industrial machinery, for instance. It costs you a lot of money to train people in to be able to share that product knowledge and to do that additional training with a customer, because it's not just right, so here's the new cell phones, right, and you've decided this is the benefits that the one has on the other. Eventually there's a sale, and everybody's happy. But when somebody's buying a big machine or big machinery for a factory, for instance, that is dangerous to use, you are not just going to sell it to that person and say, you know what, read the instructions. No. You'll do proper training with the people who are going to be using that particular machine. In the medical profession, hospitals, they've got all kinds of machines. Just one that comes to mind is X-ray machines, for instance. When the supplier of that particular product delivers that machine to a hospital, the people who are going to be working with that need to be trained in how to use it correctly. Otherwise, the damage to the machine can be costly, as well as the implications of not using it correctly is that you won't get the correct results. So it is a costly exercise. It has value still in certain industries, like the ones I've just mentioned, for instance. where there still needs to be an involvement of the salesperson, but very often because there's the face-to-face contact. The face-to-face contact is not just me standing in front of you in a shop trying to convince you to buy a specific product because you are considering one or two or three different options. It also starts telephonically. It could also be done telephonically. Some products we unfortunately cannot sell necessarily services specifically. That face-to-face is basically telephonic conversations that you have directly with a client that either responded to a commercial or advert that you've placed and needs more information and guidance to make a decision, or it could be that you are doing cold calling and you're working off a database and you're just phoning people and getting yeses and getting nos. I got 5 different calls. I've blocked the caller now since they kept on phoning me, where it was a representative from Vodacom. I currently have a Vodacom contract. It's ready. It's ready for upgrade. I know it's ready for upgrade. I've already drafted the letter that I want to take with when I visit one of the outlets to do the upgrade. I've sort of have in my mind already what I want to replace my current phone with, but I don't want any increases in what I'm paying currently. I'm happy with the functions that my phone fulfill for the purpose I use it. And if they can give me a better phone that gives me the same satisfaction, maybe extra features, I don't want to pay a cent more. I know that there's annual increases, yes, but I don't want to jump from a 400 Rand package to an 800 Rand package at the moment. Firstly, I don't need it, and secondly, I can't afford it. And this lady said, I said to her, listen, she explained to me, you can get this new Samsung S21, or you can get the new iPhone. And I said, whoa. You said double what I'm currently. No, I'm not interested in doubling what I'm paying currently to get that specific phone. For me, it's not about the phone. For me, it's about the cost of the package. Eventually came down to $600 with a different alternative, and I said, no, you know what? Fortunately, one of my classes had to start online, so I said, listen, I'll call me back later, because really. But I've immediately at the start indicated to her what my main objective is, and that is to get a better phone or a better benefit from my package, but at the same cost. Now, that's sometimes where people who are involved in personal selling can be their own worst enemies. Customer told you what they want. Don't try and sell me what you have. Try and sell me something that will satisfy the need that I've expressed. If I say this is what I want, find me a package that suits that. Don't try and sell something else to me, because if you're trying to sell something else to me, I'll eventually not buy from you at all. Okay, so that's the downside of personal or people involved in personal sales that are not properly recruited, properly motivated, and properly trained. Sales promotions is another component. I think after sales promotions, we can probably just take a short break and catch our breath, and me just warm up my tea because it's gone cold since the start of the session. Oh yeah, I'll just take a sip. It's not good. I need to warm that up. Right. The fourth component, or another element, the fourth element of the marketing communications mix is sales promotions. Sales promotions are very often short-term strategies. It's an attempt to increase your sales of a particular product, and that's why you're offering specific promotions. Buy one, get one free burger night at the Spur. 50% off of this product. You buy this product and you get 20% discount on a similar product. Or there's always promotions. The intention of the promotion, and it can be targeted, and we'll have a look at it now separately. It can be targeted at the consumer, at trade consumers, and at the employees of the company. Where when you're targeting the customer, it's to make sure that the customer gets a better deal. People love specials. People love sales promotions. They want to pay less, or they want to get more. Trade customers is where the promotion is aimed at a particular retailer or wholesaler to increase their stock that they have of a product. It's very much linked to your push and pull strategies as well. If the new advanced or improved product of an existing product or version of an existing product is going to be launched soon, usually there are certain sales promotions to directed at a retailer to say, buy more of this product. They want to get rid of it. So it's a very aggressive approach. They want to get rid of the excess stock that they have, and it's targeted at the members of the distribution channel, not directly at the consumer. They hope that obviously they can get rid of the excess stock. That's basically a strategy that's followed by manufacturers or producers. And then obviously there's certain incentives at salespeople, directed at salespeople, to reward them if they increase their sales volumes, for instance. Salesman of the month gets a free weekend for 2. So you're trying to motivate your staff by offering them certain promotions that will reward them for better effort. If we look at the different, I've listed a few examples, and we'll conclude the session with these examples and then take a quick break. Examples that we can use is, for instance, way back in, I think it was 2012, 2013, Gillette was bringing out the new Gillette XL razor. And to ensure that, then they ran a specific sales promotion, and part of the sales promotion, or what the sales promotion included, was that they offered free razors, or they mailed free razors with one blade, as well as some shaving gel, to 1.4 million Americans under the age of 18. And it carried a message with it. Congratulations with your 18th birthday, or on your 18th birthday. They did something similar in the UK, where among 15 million people, they handed out free razors that was packaged by walking door to door and hanging it on the on people's doors. That's an example of a sales promotion. Black Friday is also an example of maybe even a national sales promotion. Take a lot, for instance, Black Friday 2018 had 169 million rand in sales on Black Friday on that one day alone, which was, I think, a significant increase from the previous year. In 2015, McDonald's, also in South Africa, ran a sales promotion. They were selling the Big Macs at 19.95 rand. Within an hour, they sold 100,000 Big Macs at that price. Okay, so that's the intention of sales promotion. They're not going to run that forever, because then they won't have a business. But it's a short-term approach to increase your sales. Any questions, anybody at this stage? You all good? Shall we take a break?
Sir.
Thank you.
Friday, then it's Saturday, Sunday.
Dylan is already in the Friday spirit. Right, let's take a break, people. I'll stay online. I'm just going to mute the sound. I'm going to stop the recording, and I'm going to start re-recording when we return. Let's take a break and let's resume again at 11:30. It leaves us with about almost 10 minutes just to catch our breath, maybe answer nature's call, or visit the kitchen, get something from the fridge, or make us up a cup of coffee or hot chocolate or something. Okay, we'll resume again the session. I'll stop the recording here and we'll resume the session in about 10 minutes. Okay.